Hey YouTube, my name is Ron. I'm 43 years old. I'm a single parent, 2 boys, ages 8 and 12. Next to Jesus Christ, they are the light. They are my light of the world. And this is why I make this video. Not for me, but for my children. So the city where I live, of Columbia Heights, has failed my children, myself, my home, and they have disregarded the Constitution of the United States on many levels. So I make this video on the times of George Floyd, with the police abusing their power, thinking they could do anything they want, anytime they want, and assuming that the laws don't apply to them. So that is my story, and that's why I make this video right now. So just a quick breakdown of events. My child's mother threatened to light my children on fire. Admitted this in court. I paid $300 for the transcripts, 20 grand on a custody attorney to obtain custody of my children. We had a house fire shortly after she threatened to light my kids on fire, which is obviously a clear indication that she followed up her threats of what she said. In court, she said, the only reason I threatened to light them on fire is because we were having an argument. In the fire report, it states that the fire happened during an argument. Recently, in 2019, September of 2019, years later, she threatened to burn her aunt's house down during an argument, and her father and her aunt is reporting her to the courts, to the police, to the guardian ad litem, and everybody else. So, I have a story of a parent's worst nightmare. So this person who is very mentally ill has burglarized my house countless times with employees that work for the city of Hilltop. And Hilltop is a city in Anoka County, and Columbia Heights Police Department responds, being that it's so small. So she involved the mayor of Hilltop, employees of Hilltop, and this is the main reason why I feel like I can't get justice and get them to investigate anything. So Columbia Heights, for the longest time, has told me that these things aren't happening, and I'm delusional and I'm paranoid. So I go to work, I go to school, and an 80-inch that was on my wall, working fine when I left, I come home and my TV's destroyed. I go to work, go to school, come back, a computer that was working fine is destroyed. I go to work, go to school, come back, another TV's broke. I could go on and on and on, but to cut a long story short, without getting into all that, I've experienced about $20,000 in property damage to my home, to my property, of stuff either stolen or broken, and Columbia Heights still says no crime has ever happened. Now, they tell me my job is, when something happens, to report it to the police. Their job is to investigate. But they told me, since I have so many cameras, I get to be the one to investigate, and when I give them something, they will go on it. So I give them countless things. My child's mom, in 2007, illegally sold my home to this family that I'm getting ready to talk about. Now, an easy way for Columbia Heights to verify my story is to check this out. I mean, this is start. I mean, investigation 101. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do this one. In 2007, my child's mother illegally signed my signature on a mobile home, selling it to the family I'm getting ready to talk about. This is in 2007. Now, I don't move back in there until roughly around 2015. After I graduate from Teen Challenge, I go to their ministry school and I get my life together. I'm a general manager of my own Subway, in college for addiction counseling, and I'm back in the mobile home park, but in a different mobile home. Now, the family that she sold this to still lives in Hilltop. They're employed by Hilltop, and they're friends with the mayor, Dave Cartwright. Now, Dave Cartwright, back then, he was the, the community manager for Hilltop, and he had to approve all sales of the mobile homes. So he knew I wasn't there. He knew I was in prison, because I went to prison during this time, before Teen Challenge. And he allowed the sale to go through because he allowed it for the sale. I mean, he allowed it for his friend. His friend, John, needed a mobile home. And I'm going to show you videos shortly of what Columbia Heights says never happened. So they know it happened in a nutshell, but they're protecting Dave Cartwright the mayor, they're protecting these employees, and they refuse to investigate anything I've said. So for the past 5 years, I've had my house burglarized countless times by these employees who are drug dealers, who anytime I leave, being that they live mobile homes away from me, can see me leave, get into my house and destroy stuff, cause reactions, and make it seem like I'm crazy. Now, Columbia Heights has constantly said, how do they get in your house? How are they getting past your cameras? I'm gonna add many links below of Google Slides that has documents. Now, I've shown them pictures of a cut internet cord underneath my mobile home, not exposed on the outside, underneath. That means they had to remove the siding, go underneath the short crawl space, cut the cord, put the siding back on, and I've showed them a repair slip. So obviously somebody cut the cord for a reason. That shows an extent of the level they will go through to harass me for this woman. Now, common logic says, as close as mobile homes are together, only an employee would do this. They were in my yard that day cutting my grass. My cord is cut. Nobody else drove past and said, hey, I'm going to remove the siding of that mobile home, go underneath it, cut the internet cord, and come up in the close proximity that all the other mobile homes are. Think of how comfortable you had to feel, who you had to be, that you wouldn't raise suspicion by other neighbors. Being you're an employee, it would look like you have a reason to go underneath my mobile home. Now, the same family that I believe cut my cord is the same family that I caught stealing my mail. Now, I see a FedEx driver one time, and I'm waiting on a package, and I said, hey, my name is Ron, I live in such and such mobile home, and I'm waiting on a package. It's kind of hard to find, being in the corner it's in. And he said, Mr. Thompson, I know exactly where you live. Per instructions on this handheld device right here, I'm instructed to leave all packages in the Suburban parked in your driveway. Now, I just recently got a car a few months ago in February, I think, of 2020. Just got my license for the first time. So for 5 years, I didn't have a vehicle living in Hilltop. But he told me that he's left many packages in this Suburban. Now, I'm going to leave a link of whose Suburban it is, showing them in my yard during an attempted break-in that I logged into my cameras one time. I'm going to show you pictures of this guy in my yard, Dave Cartwright, the mayor, in the truck that I'm talking about, another video of Dave Cartwright's minivan again, this is the mayor, mind you, of his employee ripping up my garden 2 hours after my child's mother walked into my home. Now, this is a home of a family she tried to murder. Order for protections has not stopped this woman. She's had 3 order for protection violations in a year, and she's still walking free. Now, she's attacking police officers, she's attacking pedestrians, she's lying to the courts. When I first got custody of my kids, she went behind the judge's back, went to Dakota County, falsified information to the judge, lied to the judge, and said I was a threat to my children. So here, I show up at the kids' school, and they're telling me that she's taking the kids and I can no longer see my kids. Imagine the fear of that. A woman who threatened to light your children on fire, burned a house down with you guys inside, is threatening to burn her aunt's house down, is showing erratic behavior across the board, 500 pages of CPS documents. I could go on and on and on. Oh, allows sexual abuse to happen to my children in her presence. And as they're investigating this, nobody knew she had a conviction for a molestation. So as this is being investigated, somehow they didn't put in their report that she had a conviction for a molestation, confirming the accusations of her having sex in front of the children, allowing sexual abuse to happen to them in her presence. So I find this out after I get custody of my kids, that she had a conviction for a molestation. Now, it's also noteworthy to note that after she was accused of having sex in front of the children and allowing sexual abuse to happen to the children in a government treatment center here in Minnesota, a resource for recovery, it was caught not once, but twice by staff there, the exact behavior that was seen occurring to my children, further substantiating it yet again. And I completely got thrown off. Oh yeah, her walking into my house. So imagine a woman who allows sexual abuse to happen to your children, threatened to murder your children, threatened to murder you, walk into your home. On video, I'm going to show you that in a minute. Now, Obviously, she leaves and she calls the family that she sold the mobile home to that is stealing my mail, that is breaking into my house. Because is it a coincidence? The same family that I've been reporting to Columbia Heights for many years, assisting her after she walks in my home, they come and destroy my garden. Now, because I report to the Justice Department, to the FBI, and to everybody else that they're not investigating and they're allowing this to continue. Let me show you what happens in the city of Columbia Heights when you report them.
I'll be back. I'll get them. You don't need them.
Well, I tell you what. I want to walk through your place because I want to see what kind of living arrangements they have here. Okay?
No.
Okay. Well, yeah. I tell you what. Option 2. I'll go get a search warrant. We'll do it anyway.
Go get one.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to take your kids.
Well, go get one.
I don't want to do that, Mr. Thompson. I want to kind of work with you.
Well, that's going to be a bigger problem then, because now you took my kids because I'm reporting something that you guys aren't stopping. So go do what you want to do.
Mr. Thompson, I just want to talk.
Now, did you notice? Go ahead and take my children because I'm going to report that you guys aren't stopping what I'm reporting. He didn't say. He was there because I pumped out 1,000 emails. I go online and I go to the teacher directory for Minneapolis, Dakota County, and I start downloading contacts. Because obviously teachers' jobs are to protect children. They're not getting paid a substantial amount of money to work, so seemed like a good avenue of people who could report this and actually care about my case, because few people has paid attention. So I download all these contacts and I send out thousands of emails. Now, this is nothing new. I've been doing this for years, trying to get assistance. So in response to this, that is what they did, because I'm seeking assistance and I'm exposing what is going on, because they have a lot to answer for. If Columbia Heights investigates what I say and it gets proved to be true, they have 4 to 5 years of criminal acts that has been inflicted upon my family daily, and they didn't stop it. Now, let me show you another one. Hopefully, watch it. Now, a few things I'd like you to notice about that. My kids are 8 and 12 years old. They interrogated my children without the parents' consent. It doesn't matter if I was there. It doesn't matter if I let him, because he took away my right to give consent when he threatened to take my children away, not because of something I did. They searched my home. They walked through my house. They searched my home. They went in my fridge. They talked to my children. He threatened to take them away, not because of something I did wrong. He said he wanted to go in there and check the living situations that they were living in. Hey, nobody reported me. I reported that my kids aren't safe because they aren't doing their job, and because this woman, who is a documented valid threat, threatened to light them on fire, tried to kill us, and is walking into our home and burglarizing our home. They didn't have a right to come in my house. They threatened me to take away my kids because I'm doing what every parent should do. They took away my constitutional rights of feeling safe in my own home. Violating my laws that you can't interrogate children under the age of 14 without the parents' consent. And if you noticed, he threatened me that if I didn't let him, he was going to take my children. Therefore, he removed my right to give consent. I can't walk up to some lady, see she has $2,000, walk up to her and say, give me your money right now or this is gonna happen to you. She gives me her money and now I'm walking down the street and I tell the police, hey, she gave it to me, she gave consent. No, I took away her right of consent when I threatened her, as he did to me. Now, here are the employees in Dave Cartwright's van, and I have myself.
notice and let them know. You can't. Those weren't weeds. You know what weeds are? We planted that shit. We bought that shit. Are you gonna rip up other people's shit? Yes. I get a notice from the office. Get that shit out of there. That's what happened. So at 9:30 at night, at 9:30 at night, you go in my yard and you rip up stuff we paid for. Either way it goes, you're ripping up stuff on an area where you gotta leave a notice. You can't just go there and rip stuff up facing my kitchen.
Now, them are the employees that live there. I want special notice to be pointed out that, again, it was 9:30 at night. I was home. There was no knock on my door. There was no notice saying that he tried to come with the pretense or the excuse to me that he thought they were weeds. Even if they were weeds, they were my weeds. You don't have a right to come in my yard. Any renter knows that when you rent a property, I'm not even renting a property. I own the mobile home. They own the land. You still cannot go and do anything you want, anytime you want. You have to give the person no. By law, this is law. They entered my yard at 9:30, the same family that I've been reporting for years, assisting her, breaking into my home. Check the link up at the bottom. Check the description box when I post this video, and I'm gonna have Google Slides of them in my yard, the handheld device from the FedEx device saying leave packages in the Suburban. And here, they come into my yard after this.
What's that? No. No. What? No. No what? No here. This is not a place for you just to come. I'm resetting the week and I'm not doing shit.
Now, is it a coincidence? The same person who threatened to murder us walks into my house. Hours later, the family comes and rips up my garden. The same family that she illegally signed my name on the title years before. 2 times, they're in the mayor's car. 1 time, the mayor is with during the attempted burglary. Are you beginning to understand why Columbia Heights will not do their job? I mean, look at me. This is the other reason why they won't. I don't get the privilege of having white privilege. I don't get the privilege of not having a background. I changed my life. I'm not perfect, but I don't deserve what is going on. And it don't matter what I did in the past. The bottom line is, you don't have a right to choose what gets investigated and what doesn't. You don't have a right to allow children to be put at risk, Columbia Heights. So the fact that they would sit there and say no crime has ever occurred, the fact that they would say that I'm being overly paranoid, I ask you, would you be paranoid? Those are fire reports. This is the presentation. You have to swipe each time. These are court statements. You can even screenshot it if you want, but I'm gonna give links. Here's where she attacked every police officer upon me calling the police when she threatened to light my kids on fire. Here is her dad reporting her to the police. On September 24th, 2018, I received another call from a family member of Miss Hanson stating that she threatened to burn down her garage. This family member called the police and stated she was filing an order for protection. Now, this is her family, not mine. Here are transcripts where she admitted I paid $300 for her. There was far more graphic ones than this because she admitted it many times, but she admits it in here. Here's an email between me and Emily Morris to where she said I found the transcripts you were seeking, to where she admitted to saying she lights your kids on fire. Here's the screenshot of her aunt voicing the same thing. Here's where she kicked an officer in the groin, injured the officer. Here's where she sent me a message saying, "May the fires of hell lick you down the crack of your ass." Here's where she got caught with drugs and treatment. I could go on and on and on. There's too many documents in here for me to ever touch on everything, but do I have a right to be paranoid? Is it a mental illness paranoia, or is it a justified paranoia, being that these things really happen? This is a valid threat. And over a dozen people reported her to CPS of her erratic behavior of prostituting herself, jumping in and out of different vehicles, neglect, falling asleep. There's another CPS report to where she called CPS and said, hey, I can't take care of these kids no more. Come and take them away from me. I'm high. The sexual abuse ones. So it ain't me. It ain't the person who has made countless mistakes in his life. These are citizens, upright, impeccable citizens. Her father, city bus driver for 30 years, retired, worked for the state of Minnesota. Her aunt, who she threatened to burn down her house and her garage, reported to the police. Post office worker for 30 years, never did drugs, never committed a criminal act, doesn't have any convictions, and retired, peacefully retired, own their house. They're reporting her. They live a mile away from me. Everything that I said is happening to my home, the damage to property and everything else, guess what? It's happening to their home when she comes over. So the fact that Columbia Heights would ever sit there and say that this stuff isn't happening to me, everything that I report years later, she's doing it to her family members, and they're reporting her. I have messages from her family that when she comes over, their stuff is flipped over, it's tore up, it's destroyed. This is after years of me reporting to Columbia Heights that this is what is going on to my home. Are you catching a pattern here again? Columbia Heights can sit here and paint this picture all they want and call me delusional and call me paranoid. It's not right. This is the abuse of power that I'm talking about. This is the unjust, unfair society that unfortunately we live in, that a father has valid fears for his children. And the city of Columbia Heights did more to me than they ever did. None of the videos I just showed you, do you know they never went to their house and ever knocked on their door, threatened them and said, hey, this ends now? Not once. But you came to my door, threatened me, threatened to take away my children because I'm reporting you guys. Again, not because of something I did wrong, but because I'm reporting something that somebody else did to me and Columbia Heights aren't investigating. I've contacted Amy Klobuchar, Tina Smith, Bobby Champion, been to Tim Walz's office countless times, the Attorney General, Keith Ellison. I've given them hundreds of pages of documents on all this stuff, certified mail, dropped it off in person, send them email constantly, the White House. I've got responses from Trump. View the Google slides. Some of the people who I've contacted are in there. I'm talking about I've exhausted my resources. This Columbia Heights has affected my health countless times and have given me symptoms of a stroke for years, dealing with this overwhelming stress of them just not doing their job. I mean, why can't I report a crime and you don't look at who's involved? You investigate it as a crime as it is. Now, let's see if I can get to it quick. There is the police report where it says Ronald said packages were they were left in a Suburban. There is the Suburban in my yard. The image is kind of hard to see from there, but there's an image in my yard. It has got grainy over times from copying the same page hundreds of times. Originally it was in color, which I do have on another iCloud account. But Columbia Heights also has this clear video, or clear picture. But either way it goes, you can see Suburban right there. That is Dave Cartwright's vehicle. Right here, there's a handheld device, and it says number 848 or 484 on it. And it says, leave packages in the Suburban per Ronald Thompson's instructions, front door, leaving the Suburban parked in his driveway. Now, is it logical that as I'm reporting mail thefts, I'm instructing them to leave packages in a Suburban while I'm gone all day at work and college? It's not logical. Another point I'd like to point out. Now, if Columbia Heights just did that simple thing on checking with the DMV, let's just entertain Ron for a second. Let's do a little bit of police work here. Let's check with the DMV. Let's get this title from 2007 that they would have had to submit. Let's see if his signature is on there. Wow, his signature ain't on there. Well, let's see whose it is. Okay, it's hers. Now, the same way they switched my delivery instructions from having all my personal information getting into my accounts. They got to the shipper, changed the delivery instructions as they did right here. I'm not talking about once, I'm talking dozens of times, dozens of packages and hundreds of pieces of mail. There was a time for about 6 months I didn't get a single piece of mail, not one. So the same way, this clearly happened. Leave packages in the Suburban when I didn't own a Suburban. And the FedEx driver saying that he left them there countless times. Countless times. Do you know Columbia Heights never talked to this FedEx driver? They never talked to nobody on this. They just, whatever. You're being paranoid. This never happened. Do you know? Oh, here's the screenshot from around right here. Go ahead, look at the Google Slides. She's telling me that when my child's mom comes over there, that things like her fountain and stuff is turned over. She's angry about everything. Then she goes into his birthday, my kid's birthday. But there again, we have her family stating the damage happening to their house when she comes over. Here's the cut internet cord underneath my mobile home. There is the repair slip right there. Columbia Heights, nothing happened. Now, I did want to touch on the fact that this mobile home, 1150, that she illegally signed my signature on. Now, remember, we have the handheld device from FedEx to where they altered my information and they had it delivered. This was their way of not being seen, by parking their vehicle in my driveway in an unlocked Suburban, so they didn't have to sign for it, so they can get the package without having their face connected to it. Now, the same thing happened recently. So I had 3 Ring cameras coming to my house. So again, they get into the email, they change the delivery instructions, and it goes where? Guess where it goes? To the mobile home 1150 that I used to own in 2007, and the cameras went there. So UPS tells me it goes to this address. I go to this address, and the guy says, hey, I don't have your packages. I never got your packages. Please stop coming here. So now I have insurance on them. I called, and I had 3 more sent. Guess what happens? Now I'm having a Bible study at my church, and I don't know who this guy is he's my mentor, and I know he's a pillar in the church, but I don't know what he does for a job, and his flawless, impeccable nature that is closely connected to law enforcement and what I'm getting ready to say. So I'm having a Bible study, and again, I see a package went to this address, and I'm like, hey, we need to stop the Bible study. They delivered my package to the wrong address again. So we stop the Bible study and we go there. Now I got this guy with me, Mark Wilson. Again, his letter that he wrote is going to be in this presentation that's going to give you access to everything: the documents, the fire reports, the transcripts, other court reports, the custody thing, just countless stuff. And his letter is going to be in there. Now we go up to the door and he says, look, I don't have your packages. I never got none of your packages. He pulls the same line again. Now I contact the Justice Department and the FBI because, again, Columbia Heights are not investigating, doing their job. So now, on the urging of the FBI or Justice Department, I'm not sure which one, but Columbia Heights calls me now and they say, hey, Mr. Thompson, we're going to go try to retrieve your package from this address. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So they call me shortly after and they say, I got good news for you. We got one of your packages back, but we weren't able to get the first package. So I hang up the phone and I'm like, wait a minute. If you got one of the packages back, that means he stole them all. Because you admitted to saying you never got none of them. But now a week later, you have the packages. When we went there, you didn't have them, even though UPS said you had them, even though the deliverer, or whatever you call it, the UPS thing saying it was delivered at the exact time, and we went there very shortly after. But you don't have them when we were there, but now a week later you have them when the police knock on your door? Suspicious. Now, how is it that the packages go to this address of all addresses, again connecting them? This is the address to where the mayor approved the sale of this mobile home, where she illegally signed my name on a title. Now packages are going there. You know how Columbia Heights writes the report? Columbia Heights writes the report as, since Mr. Thompson lived at this address previously, it was a mistake. Even though it was like 15 years prior that I lived there, And Columbia Heights said that this is the address that UPS had and they didn't have another address on file, even though I've lived in Hilltop for 5 years and I've had countless packages from UPS and FedEx delivered to my new address. This is how Columbia Heights wrote the report so they didn't have to investigate. So then Columbia Heights tells me, I will investigate this if you get me a printout from Ring showing that you gave the correct address and the UPS address that it was delivered to, so I get everything he wants. And he still wrote the bias report. Now, after the cameras were retrieved, I'm coming in from the mobile home park, and the same family that is ripping up my garden, that is assisting her, now sees me, and he floors his car at me and nearly hits me. Again, I call the police, call Columbia Heights, and this time, Columbia Heights writes the report, and they say, well, if he wanted to hit you, he would have hit you. And it wasn't a crime. So I guess I had to get hit and be laying in the street and be bleeding. That wasn't a crime. That after they steal my mail, after they retrieve a package they said they never had, now I'm walking in and they nearly run me over. Again, Columbia Heights wrote the bogus report. Now, let's see if I can find. Here's other packages to where they changed the delivery instructions. It says moved on it. Clearly, I didn't move. That was one of the packages I was able to retrieve. Here's the letter from Mark Wilson. Oh, yeah, that's where I was going. So guess what Mark Wilson does? The person that I was with. He's an Oak Park Heights prison employee, chaplain, in a Anoka County jail chaplain. He goes into the jail, but he has to follow the same qualifications, the screening, and everything else that a guard would have to do to be employed there. So apparently his word don't mean anything either, and they still choose to ignore all this for their friend Dave Cartwright, who was a lifelong resident of Hilltop, who knows all the police, who's deeply connected with the sheriff's office. So they're sheltering this man again. They're not looking at the fact that it's easily verifiable if you just do a little bit of police work and you check with the DMV. How did this mobile home get sold in 2007 when I wasn't around? How was it allowed? It was allowed because Dave Cartwright allowed it for his friend John, so legally sold by my child's mom, Beverly, the same family that ripped up my yard shortly after she walked into my house. The same family that was in my yard the day my internet cord was cut. Now, let's see if I can find. Come on, hurry up. Where are you? What is it? A different one. Here again, better view of the cut cores, and the one right here, this is notes that my kid's therapist wrote down during a therapy meeting with my 8-year-old, and we had our monthly meeting, and she told me how my kid felt. And my 8-year-old, mind you, he stated that he feels safe with dad and he's scared that his mother is going to hurt him or his family. This is an 8-year-old. Columbia Heights has all this. I feel safe with dad, but I fear my mom is going to hurt me. But that cop came to my fucking door and said, I want to check out the living situation of your children. Search my house. Imagine how I felt that the people who are entrusted to protect and serve violated my rights and came into my house. Nothing these people have ever did to my house as I left for work, the fact that they took away my security in my own house by damaging my property, stuff that I've worked hard for, didn't compare to what the police did. You came into my home. I mean, I call you guys in the hopes that you guys are the good guys. And again, you showed that you're not the good guys. We are at a point now to where Columbia Heights isn't even incompetent. They are complicit in these crimes. They are guilty of committing these crimes. They stole my mail. They burglarized my house. They harass me because at a certain point you have to take the blame off of the people who are individuals, or off of the people who are criminals, mentally ill, and you have to place it on the people that are supposed to be investigating it. They reinforce these people's belief that nothing was ever going to come of this. So in a sense, to me at least, they committed these crimes at a certain point because they allowed this to go on. If they would have ever just went to these people, investigated what I reported years and years ago, would I be making this video right now? Would I have went down to the protest that was going on for George Floyd? I'm going to touch on that pretty soon too. Would I feel the way I feel right now that I've been dealt an unjust blow by the city of Columbia Heights? And oh yeah, that's another story. So this is going to get long. So she's had 3 order for protection violations in a year. One of them was for going to the kids' school and tried to kidnap the kids from school. Basically, a teacher called and said, hey, Ron, she's at the school right now. She's trying to leave with the kids. I'm like, dude, don't let her leave. There's an order for protection. Call the police right now. I called the police, and in the Google slides, that report is in there to where it says she tried to leave with the kids from school. Woman who tried to molest the kids, woman who allowed molestation to happen to the kids, and everything else I said. Went to the school and tried to pick up the kids. Second one, she goes to my college, and she registers for college at my college, and she's caught on video there. And the third one is she threatened me in court in front of a child support worker and Kren. That again is in the Google slides. 3 order for protection violations in a year, but apparently to Anoka County and Hennepin County is just a piece of paper. And when a man reports a woman saying that a man feels threatened by a woman, it's not the same as if a woman reported a man. If any other circumstance would have been put in place to where a man threatened to light his kids on fire, burned a house down with a woman inside, the woman saying she's terrified, 3 order for protections in a year, my whole situation, that man would be under the jail on TV for the worst man in human history. Do you know Anoka County and Hennepin County released her with no bail every single time? Do you know Hennepin County, every time she comes up for her trial, they prolong it because of the coronavirus. They extended it 3 months. I waited patiently for the 3 months. I complained. Yes, I pumped out a bunch of emails saying this is absolutely wrong. You're prolonging her case because of the coronavirus. This woman is more dangerous than the coronavirus. This woman is more dangerous than the coronavirus. Again, they just prolonged it 3 more months. Now, unless I'm missing something here, the courts are still in process. They're arresting people daily for violating the curfew, and obviously they're having court. So why can't she have court? Why can't she pay? Why is it years later I'm still seeking justice? Why is this person walking free right now? Mike Freeman, Tony Palermo, however you pronounce your name in Anoka County, Mike Freeman in Hennepin County. So please, I ask you, let's fill the emails for Anoka County and Hennepin County, because she's on probation in Hennepin County for violating an order for protection violation. How does she catch 2 more and she's not violated in Anoka County? How is she not going to trial? How do they keep prolonging her case? This woman has did more, a bigger threat than anybody they arrested. Anybody they arrested for rioting, protesting. This woman threatened to murder my children, tried to murder my children, harasses us daily, and she's walking free right now. So do I have a problem with the system right now? I do have a problem with the system right now. And hopefully you have a problem with the system right now. When my last semester in college, I took ethics and we had to study different ethical theories. So we did South Africa, Ubuntu, if I'm pronouncing it right. And they had this guy, Desmond Tutu, I'm probably saying the name wrong, but he was an apartheid activist, and he once said, if you remain neutral in regards to injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. So this ain't even about, this doesn't concern me. It does concern you, because if you just visualize the fact that this could have been you, or what if it was you? What if it was one of your children? And if it wasn't, we still have a right as human beings to protect children, to protect human life, and to have law enforcement not be biased, be fair, But here we don't have that. So I ask you to choose the side, my side, and fight against the oppressor. Please assist me. I don't know what to do. I am one person, and one person's voice obviously don't mean much. I would love it if it did. The feeling that I have in the city of Columbia Heights, and where actually not even Columbia Heights, Hennepin County too, because it stretches to Hennepin County, because many of the charges are in Hennepin County. The molestation happened in Hennepin County. The fire happened in Hennepin County. Probably more happened in Hennepin County. Her attacking the police, all Hennepin County. So it's Hennepin County and Anoka County. It ain't so much about something being out, or someone being out of whack. It's something now. It's the system. The system that in my first hearing, when I said, Your Honor, this girl's a bigger threat than a level 3 sex offender living next door to my children. She threatened to light me and the children on fire when we were sleeping. First hearing, Your Honor, I only said it because we were arguing. You hear that? That should have been the end of the hearing right there. To me, if a man would have ever said that, first hearing, judge would have been like, look here, hearing's over. Your rights are severed. There is no 2 years custody battle, 2 years of her filing motion after motion after motion, financially draining me $300 an hour on my lawyer, Lee Kleinhammer, to get custody when they had all the facts. Now, I'm not so much mad at the custody hearing, because I did get what I want in the end. I got custody of my kids, 100% custody of my kids. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Judge. But what does bother me is the fact that this person was allowed to file motion after motion and financially drain me at the same time as she's breaking into my house, destroying all my stuff. At the same time, I'm trying to raise these 2 children by myself with no child support, and I'm having all my stuff destroyed, and I'm reporting it to the police, and they're not doing anything. Imagine the pain, the distrust, the anger. I mean, like crying out to God over and over and over, like, God, are you going to hear me? And it's like he's not hearing me. You assume eventually it's going to come. All things work together for the good of God. You think it's going to happen, although I know that with the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. So everything might not happen in your time, but it's going to happen. But imagine, it created a division between me and God even. Like, God, why is this happening to me? I mean, I could see for a certain amount of time you're creating character in me, as the Bible says. But on the flip side, how is the system in place right now allowing this to happen? I don't get it. So my phone number is 612-961-2245. I'm going to put a link below with all the documents substantiating that this is no just somebody making a video trying to lie on the police. No, these are facts. And I risk a lot. Here, let me back up on another one. Now, I got to say this one because it has to do with what Columbia Heights might say regarding my behavior and my reactions. Now, you have to factor in, many times I have reacted poorly to Columbia Heights. I have acted like I've had severe mental health problems, but maybe I did. Actually, maybe I did. Going to work, going to school, coming back, day after day, having my stuff destroyed, absolutely. I probably showed signs of severe mental illness, but it didn't mean it didn't happen. Now, I say this because one of the arguments Columbia Heights is going to say is that I was a prior drug addict and I was using. I would also like to point out that I caught this woman. I'm going to get here. Let's play this. Let's play this, actually. Let's play this. You're not going to believe this. Watch her hands. She's getting a cigarette right now. My food and my drink are all right there. Now, I'm going to add a longer video of how she looks at it. So, my absolute knowledge is her hand movements around my food and drink. She poisoned me that day. After I consumed my food and drink, I got hauled away by ambulance for all the symptoms of a heart attack. You see her after she did it, before I went over there and before I consumed it, looking over there with the big smile on her face, just smiling at it, knowing I'm getting ready to consume it. Now, yes, it is kind of hard to see what she's doing. And no, you can't necessarily see her dropping something in my food and my drink, but you see her hands do suspicious stuff around my food and drink. Confirming that she did it, also taking a note, everything in the presentation, her threatening to light me on fire, the other attempts, breaking into my house, everything else. Add that to it, her threatening to light her family on fire, her attacking her police. Not so far-fetched now. It ain't so far of a stretch to say that this happened. Absolutely solidifying it, if that's the word I'm looking for, solidifying that she did this in custody court. Imagine this. I must be about 15 grand in on paying my lawyer already, about a year and a half into the custody battle. I stated on record to the courts, to the guardian ad litem, to her family and my family, that if she passed a lie detector test at my expense, I would pay for it. That she never poisoned me, she never broke into my home, any one of those, I would sever my rights as a parent and she could have the kids back. She refused. That alone is guilt in itself. I'm sorry. If somebody had my kids and they accused me of poisoning them, and all I had to do was take a lie detector test, 90 minutes of being uncomfortable, and I would get my kids back, I'm taking that test. The reason she didn't take it is obvious. That once I had the results and she failed this test, of course I was going to use the results and submit it to the police, the FBI, whoever, and say, look here. Now, another thing I would also like to point out, adding more substance to this claim. As I'm going through this custody thing, I'm feeling the feeling of being high, the substance I used to use. I'm failing my urinalysis test for court, saying that I have methamphetamine in my system. Absolutely sober. Against my lawyer's advice, my lawyer said, don't waste your money on a lie detector test because they're not cheap. I didn't listen to her. I'm failing a test when I know I'm absolutely sober. I went through assured polygraph. He does them for the FBI, highly qualified and highly respected. Guess what happened? When I took the test, he said, listen, Ron, if you took one drink, if you had back pain and somebody gave you one pill, you're gonna fail this test. And I said, I don't have nothing to worry about. Guess what happened? I passed the test with flying colors. So I ask you, how was I failing this test? I ask you, why did she refuse to take a lie detector test? I ask you, what was her suspicious movements around my food and drink? And also, if you notice, my kids were right there when she left the room to come back to my room to ask me for a lighter, which was really to see if I was recording because she knew I had a bunch of cameras. And I said, get out of here, go light it off the stove. My kids drink and eat after me all the time. What if they drank it? If it rendered me to the point to where I had to get hauled away by ambulance, what would it have did to my children? This is the lack of respect and disregard for her children. Again, she showed the same disregard that allowed, and the heartless actions that allowed the sexual abuse, not accidentally, in her presence, right in front of her. The same person who threatened to light him on fire, the same person who burned a house down with them inside. I mean, come on. Obviously it happened. And guess what? This happened in the city of Columbia Heights, and guess what they did? They accredited it to the stress that I was going through and the fact that I was drinking at this time. At this time, I was drinking. This is before I had custody of my kids. So they, again, found a reason, an exit not to investigate. They never went to this person. They never investigated anything. So when I said there was a lot to this, I can't even believe I went into 49 minutes, but I knew it was going to be a long one. Hopefully it allows me to upload this video. Please share this video. Please contact the governor. Please contact Mike Freeman. Please contact Amy Klobuchar, Tina Smith, the Attorney General, the White House. I can't do this alone. Obviously, I'm fighting a system that don't want to hear me, and there's more to it. It ain't just the fact that I'm reporting something. It ain't the fact that they would investigate or they want to investigate now. It's the fact they won't investigate now, because if they investigate right now, they have to acknowledge the fact that if they prove me true, which I will be proven true, they have to own the fact that they allowed this to happen for 5 years. This ain't even about a war. This ain't even about me filing a lawsuit saying the police caused this or allowed this to go on for so many years. All I want it to do is stop. All I want is for my children to be safe. But instead of just wiping a little dirt off their face, deal with the little hurt pride that they have that Ron finally had a voice and he was finally heard, and hey, let's investigate this. Instead of overlooking the fact that, this man did call us incompetent, he did get angry many times, he did yell at us and say we weren't doing our job, which is all true. Just shake that little hurt pride off and investigate it, but they won't. And the fact that I have way too many officers who have wrote these biased reports, they're protecting. It ain't that they don't want to. They're protecting a system to where too many officers are involved with what has happened already. Let's get over what has really happened. Here, let's go into another one real quick. So on the mail theft, they have this captain now named McHammer, something like that. I can't remember his name offhand. It's something like that, though. So I had my phone on record. My therapist, Carrie Crockford, has this recording. So I have my phone on record walking to the police station because I've had so many biased reports to where the police have questioned my sanity so many times. I have my phone on record. So I walk in there and he comes out, "Who the F you think you are, contacting the White House, the Justice Department, and everybody else?" I'm terrified. So I'm stuttering in my words, completely just caught off guard that somebody's coming at me like this. Now he's a captain. In this captain, I'm breaking down the scenario, and again, he's saying like, this never happened, and I'm going